Seamstress, the designer said like the word wrinkled fabric. Zara, steam the bodice. Don't touch the drape. Zara Laschen held muslin with one hand and patience with the other. The truth sat inside the hem, a micro-stitch tucked where no one in this room usually looks. Outside the curtain, the runway murmured. Phones lifted like a field of moons. Backstage heat clung to silk and egos. A model in midnight took slow steps while a dresser whispered, 1, 2, breathe. The house belonged to Marco Vale, or that's what the invitation said. Cinema hair, camera smile, hands that hadn't cut a pattern in 5 years. He called Zara that seamstress, the way some men call a city mine. Pins, Zara said, palm open. The assistant fumbled, then found them. He says the hem is too heavy. He says a lot, Zara answered, easing weight where the skirt wanted to pull. She anchored it with a tiny chevron tack inside the seam, her habit since her mother's singer. She left it where light doesn't go, and credit rarely follows. Vale drifted past trailing cedar and cameras. Adjust look 16, he told a clipboard. The slit reads cheap. And, he added to Zara without looking, take out the stay tape, it breaks the line. The stay tape is keeping the line, she said. He blinked, like fabric had spoken back. Do as you're told. She fed the hem through her hands, listening to it. The stay tape stayed. 3 hours earlier, a VC in a pearl coat toured the atelier. We adore your craft ethos, she told Vale. We want to see the signatures in the pieces. He nodded at the cameras, then glanced at Zara the way people look at chairs that hold them up. Zara nodded too. She'd always signed, just not where he could cut it out. Places, the stage manager called. Music swelled, the room dimmed to heat that made satin glow. Look 1 went out clean, 2, crisp, 3 earned a soft front row sigh. Zara stood by the curtain and watched fingers graze seams she had buried. Vale tasted each applause like a sip he believed he'd poured. 16 ready? He asked. 16 is fine, she said. He half turned to correct her, then didn't. Fine. Look 11 stumbled, recovered, smiled. 12 breathed, 13 killed. The front row leaned toward power. Backstage, a dresser tugged at a zipper and gasped. Snag. Don't force it, Zara said, calm around other people's panic. Breathe. The zipper made peace with itself. Seams do that if you ask politely and know how to hold them. Then the air changed shape. An assistant with a new lanyard and old hunger hovered by look 16. His eyes were on the hem. His hand, in his pocket, found a pair of tiny shears. Zara moved without moving. She crossed to another rack as if checking a hanger and watched him watch the cloth. He reached, snip. The sound was nothing. The result was not. He cut the stay thread that took force across the hem. Weight shifted. A fault line woke up. Zara's jaw tightened once. She touched the skirt and felt it fall a millimeter where it had never planned to. Sabotage comes in small measures because pride prefers fingerprints you can deny. The assistant walked away whistling, Vale's cologne on his cuffs. 15 is on, the stage manager said. 16 in 90 seconds, a headset snapped. The model for 16, shoulders like a steady line, lifted her chin. I can feel something, she whispered to Zara. I don't know what. You feel a thread that believes in gravity, Zara said. If it pulls, don't fight it. Small steps. She slid a thumbnail along the seam, listening for song. The song was wrong. She threaded a hair of saffron silk and gave the hem a whisper of attack. Better, not safe. She needed the stay. There was no time. Now, the stage manager said. Go. Zara exhaled and let the dress go like a prayer she couldn't half say. The model took the runway, eyes tracked, cameras fluttered like birds. 6 steps, turn, 3 more, and the dress decided it wanted to be 2 dresses. It didn't explode. It opened like a mouth choosing to speak. A tide of breath rose. Someone's ringed hand touched a throat. Phones surged higher. Hold music, the stage manager hissed. Keep rolling, Vale said too fast. Kill the wash, someone else ordered, and the overhead fell to work light. Heaven switched off. The runway came back to earth. The model stopped in a cone of ordinary. She didn't cry. She looked to the wings with eyes that had learned not to apologize for physics. Back, Vale said, making a cutting gesture as if he could snip the moment from time. No, Zara said, and stepped into the light. No flair, no speech, just a woman with a needle on her wristband and a phone light in her teeth. She knelt, lifted the hem, and found the seam. She found the cut thread. She found the tiny chevron micro-stitch she'd placed hours ago like a letter under a door. Don't touch her, Vale snapped, but the music had died and his voice didn't travel well unaided. Stage. I need a chair, Zara said, and house lights. We can't bring house, the stage manager started. You can, said Money's voice. The VC in the pearl coat stood at the runway's end. House lights up. Morning arrived indoors. Faces reappeared, lenses adjusted. Zara set the hem on her knee and parted the seam. Breathe, she told the room. This isn't scandal. This is evidence. Inside the lining, where only a tailor or a thief will look, a chain of tiny chevrons walked along the seam like footprints. At the 16th inch, the line ended, cleanly cut. This is my stitch, she said. I put it where truth stays put. It was intact when I handed the dress to rack 10. Someone cut here, she pointed. Someone who knew exactly which thread would break the weight. Vale found volume. You're out of line. No, the VC said. Your line just broke. Cameras swung to her. She didn't blink. Marco, we invest in provenance and process. If your process fails in front of 200 phones, it has failed in rooms we can't see. We halt. Absolutely not, Vale said to a camera that had stopped loving him. Zara kept stitching, 3 small bites of silk marrying fabric back to itself, the kind of bite that holds grief together until it can be properly mended. Who are you? A blogger called. Zara, she said, patternmaker, not seamstress, and the person who tacked the hem that kept your model upright. A ripple moved. Names reorder reality. The assistant with the shears had gone pale. He tried to step backward into nobody and met a rack that didn't move. Bring him, the VC said, and 2 production hands suddenly understood they were security. Vale spread his hands. Darling, not the time for melodrama. This is exactly the time, the VC said. The lights are up. That stitch proves nothing, Vale said. Perhaps she cut it herself. If I wanted to break your dress, Marco, Zara said, finally looking at him, I'd do it where people could see the cut. A laugh escaped someone who hadn't planned to give it. The room listened harder. The VC stepped onto the runway, palms open, shameless. Ladies and gentlemen, we're pausing the show. Groans, protests, relief. Phones remembered they could stream anything. We're pausing, she repeated, to examine every seam. And we're instituting what we should have done long ago, credit protocols. Every garment from this house will carry a build log, stitched into the lining like a birth certificate. Patternmaker, cutter, draper, finisher. A QR will link to the process. The people who make beauty will be named. She turned to Zara. Starting now, Ms. Lashan leads the capsule we launch next quarter. Her name goes on the wall, on the labels, and on the pay. The front row didn't clap, surgery silence, but air loosened, as if a ribcage got 3 millimeters more breath. You can't, Vale began. We can, the VC said. It's our money. You'll ruin the brand. No, she said. We'll give it a spine. Zara tied off the emergency tack and stood. The model's eyes shone. Thank you, she whispered. Walk, Zara said. Small steps. Own it. The model finished the runway like someone who had learned something about falling and something else about hands that hold. Backstage, the assistant found a chair because the floor had turned on him. Someone removed the scissors from his pocket with the care reserved for broken glass. His name would later appear where glamour doesn't go. They didn't resume the show. They ended it with a statement using words like integrity and safety and collaboration. It did not say sabotage. It did not say Zara. Statements rarely finish the work. The lights had done most of it. Overnight, the pause went everywhere. The hem in the light, the tiny stitch. Patternmaker trended beside a designer's name in a way that introduced him to humility. By morning, the house fed images of hands to its own channels, hands drawing, basting, pressing seams open under steam. Captions: we build, we credit, we return to work. The Pearlcoat VC made sure names sat under the hands. Zara arrived early. She hung her coat on a hook a little too low for grace and rolled the pattern table into better light. Vale arrived late, if he arrived. When he did, he found cameras in places he wasn't used to seeing them, and a schedule that required him to speak about process beside the people who owned it. A week later, an apology meeting became an offer. Lead the capsule, the VC said. Build something that explains itself. Zara wanted correctness more than credit, but she knew what names do to memory. She said yes. Habits held until new ones replaced them. Build logs went into linings like prayers, labels printed with more than a font. Interns learned to tack the chevron microstitch where a seam could forget itself. Someone argued about time. Time argued back and won. Pressed for a pull quote, Zara refused a slogan. Ownership isn't who can afford the room, she said. It's who can face the morning. It ran under her photo in a trade newsletter and again on a student's post with glitter around the edges. It was misattributed once to Marco and corrected twice by strangers who had seen the runway go human. Months passed. The company archive added a loaned painting. Another girl, another blue, different light. School children came on a Tuesday, put on white gloves, and learned the difference between fabric and fashion, a dress and a story. A granddaughter of someone stood close as the registrar allowed, and whispered, "This is ours because once it wasn't, and we said so." Zara watched from the doorway. She didn't interrupt. A teacher explained bias. A child understood it. Something inside her finally settled, the way a seam settles when steam and patience meet. Vale adapted or faked it. He said we, more, and I, less. He waited his turn in meetings he used to run. He stopped correcting Zara mid-sentence. He started asking questions that cost him pride. The house didn't become good overnight. It became less careless. Sometimes that's the exact difference. A reporter asked how she'd known where to look, what to stitch, when to step out. "Practice," she said. He wanted poetry. She gave him proof. When you can't get credit, make proof. The next season's finale wasn't a stunt. Models walked with tools, shears, chalk, needles, thimbles. The last carried a Singer foot pedal. Someone in the fourth row put a hand over their mouth for a reason that had nothing to do with scandal. In the back room that smelled like steam and mild soap, Zara wrote on a selvage with tailor's chalk, "Build log inside, human outside." It wasn't for anyone. It made her laugh. The assistant with the shears found other work where cameras didn't go. The VC started keeping a needle in her desk next to the pen that signs checks. Not because she needed it, but because some objects keep rooms honest. Early one morning, Zara walked the quiet runway. A light tech ran a test wash. The floor shone like it had been invented to reflect courage. The stage manager met her halfway. "People keep asking," she said, "why did the lights go out?" "Because someone killed the wash," Zara said. She looked up. "And because we needed a different kind of light." "You started this," the stage manager said. "I stuck a stitch where truth couldn't fall out," Zara answered. "The rest of you dragged it into daylight." "We can do that again," the stage manager said, pointing at the rigging. "Let's not have to," Zara said. She bent to check a hem on look 4, not because she didn't trust it, but because work is the part of justice no one streams. People like to pretend stories end when the runway clears, as if a gavel could fall on silk. The truth is smaller and heavier, a tack the size of a breath, a label that refuses to lie, a name in a place where names used to be erased, a light that stays on long enough to make men blink. They called her just a seamstress. They stopped when they understood what she measured. And somewhere inside that understanding, rooms changed. Not forever, not all at once, but enough to let morning in on time.